Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, joining us as we all get together as film fans and talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, a little bit of television, a little bit of pop culture stuff as well. And it's always great to have you here, and it's always a great day when the master of fun and wonder himself, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett, is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Robert, how you doing?
John, I'm good. I got to admit something. You know, I'm a completist in my physical media.
Completist?
I'm a completist. You know, when a movie series comes out, even if one's not so good, I bought X-Men Dark Phoenix on
Really?
4K. I did. You know, and for whatever reason, I put it on this weekend. And I have to say, revisiting the film, I kind of liked it. I kind of liked. Now, it's not great. It's not great. But it is not the hot mess that people think it is. I felt it was more of a hot mess in the theater. But watching it at home, maybe it was just the sitting in my bed with a nice cup of coffee and a little crispy morning air coming in, the dog sitting next to me. I was more forgiving. But I kind of enjoyed my second revisit to the X-Men Dark Phoenix universe.
You know what? I had my reaction coming out of the theater. Because, look, we had all heard that it was a terrible mess. Actually, you and I heard well in advance that it was actually quite a disastrous mess, and they were working on it right up till the last minute.
Yeah.
There were a lot of things going against it, and we heard it. When I came out of it, I was like, you know what? This isn't a good movie. It's not a good movie. But it's not the dumpster fire so many people are making, and some of us thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And in particular, like when to me, that train sequence at the end, I would swear to God, I put it in my top 10 favorite comic book action sequences. Not single scene, but overall action sequences of all time. It's a fabulous sequence at the end there.
You know, I think the biggest weakness of the movie is the fact that the alien characters are totally underdeveloped. And
no development whatsoever. Nothing.
There's no development. And if it was established that the aliens had drawn the Phoenix Force to Earth in an effort to capture it or something, I think the movie would have worked better. It needed like 20 more minutes of alien antagonist development and set them up as a team of people that had a reason for being in the movie. Because that was when I was watching, I was struck. They really missed the boat. They could have had this new antagonist that was unique. I mean, it was kind of the Shi'ar, but not, and stuff. And it was a missed opportunity, but not one that they should have seen that in the scripting phase. They could have made it more interesting if the aliens were
First-time director.
I know.
First-time director and a big, but anyway, guys, listen, we've got a lot of things that we need to talk about here today, and we are going to jump right into it. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simply see you guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down out of the way, let's move on to our first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets submitted by Seattle Gregory, who writes, Rob's going to like that. I read today that PlayStation Vue is shutting down January 30th, 2020. Picture attached an email from PlayStation Vue. Could this be due to the new streaming services coming out? Thanks for reading, and bring on the filthy. All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, Seattle Gregory. And yes, PlayStation Vue is shutting down. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar with what PlayStation Vue is, PlayStation Vue was an endeavor, obviously, by PlayStation. They were one of the first out of the gates, actually, to do the whole cable television over a streaming service thing. That's what we get with Hulu TV Live and with YouTube TV and Sling TV. PlayStation Vue was actually amongst the first people out of the gate to do it. And I was a subscriber to it for a while. I got to tell you, I like the service. I did. Now, I've tried basically all of them. I tried DirecTV's direct service. I was a Hulu customer for a bit. I did Sling, I did PlayStation Vue, and I ended up on YouTube TV. So I ended up with YouTube TV. That's the one I use personally. But anyway, this is to a lot of people's surprise, but maybe it shouldn't have been a surprise. This is what comes out of Tech Hive. On January 30th, 2020, Sony plans to shut down PlayStation Vue, having decided to focus more on its core gaming business. While Vue was one of the first live TV streaming bundles when it launched in March of 2015, it ultimately couldn't keep pace with the growth of YouTube TV, Hulu with live TV, Sling, among others. Now, that comes to us from Tech Hive. Now, one of the problems that PlayStation Vue pointed to was the fact that getting the contract agreements in place to distribute the cable network stuff was much harder than they thought. And they knew it was going to be difficult at the time, but PlayStation really thought that as a couple of years passed, it would become easier to negotiate those deals. Unfortunately for them, they couldn't, and their prices kept going up. The PlayStation, I think by the time it ends, the PlayStation Vue price was around $50 a month, maybe a little bit more expensive than its competitors. And in a world right now, Rob, where you have like PlayStation Vue from all accounts had somewhere around 500,000 subscribers.
Right.
Whereas Sling TV and Hulu have around 2.5 million. YouTube is the newest one out of the gate, and they're reportedly around 1.5 million subscribers already. That's the one I use personally. So you're seeing all that combined with the fact that PlayStation hasn't been able to figure out a way to give better service with a reduced rate. They see these other newer companies spurting huge growth. Theirs is in decline. The writing was really on the wall. They were going to pull the plug on this. Now, to the viewer's question, though, could the new streaming services, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Apple TV Plus, could these things have contributed to PlayStation taking a dive? Honestly, no, because they're two totally different things. They're servicing two completely different things. PlayStation Vue was in the market of broadcasting cable television like Hulu, like YouTube TV, like Sling TV. That was their competitors. The Disney Plus, that's a totally separate thing. Yeah. These are streaming services that stream their own unique content. So it's kind of a different thing. But I think it's an unfortunate thing because they were one of the first out of the gates. They had a pretty good service, but other services came along that are better. So I don't think this is a bad sign for the cable streaming on internet landscape like Hulu TV Plus and Sling TV. I don't think this is a bad sign for them because you just had one that was clearly falling behind in the pack. And they're deciding to close their doors and focus on video games, which should please a lot of people. Rob, you hear this. What's your thoughts on this? What do you think the overall scope of this could be?
I think you're absolutely right. Look, this landscape, there are going to be casualties. There's going to be, and like PlayStation, I guess that announcement said they're going to focus on their core. What is their core mandate? It's gaming. You know, they're not a television broadcaster. They want to focus on gaming. And if they do start their own, aren't they supposed to start a gaming subscription service?
I think I heard something like that.
I mean, that's going to be huge. And so they're going to be all in on that because isn't that what people want from PlayStation? And I just think, John, we'll see over the years as this technological landscape continues to evolve and develop, some people are just going to realize that, hey, we can't do everything. As much as we might want to diversify and develop, get into every part of the internet, sometimes you're just not going to be able to. I think it's a smart move for PlayStation. I think it's better that they put their efforts into their core business and give us better games and better game delivery systems. But I think it's just a natural evolution of the whole landscape.
All right, question here is, guys, what do you think? Were you a customer of PlayStation Vue? Maybe you tried it out at some point. What do you think about them closing the doors? And, by the way, good on them for not just saying, by the way, folks, we're done and turning it off. They're saying we're shutting it down January. The existing customers are going to have a couple of months to figure out what they want their next service provider to be. But what do you guys think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down and out of the way, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Clark Washington, who writes, so, Terminator, suffered a dark fate. There you go, a little play on words. This weekend at the box office, opening near identical to the 3-day take of Terminator Genesis and scoring the same B+ cinema score to boot. To make matters worse, Deadline says the movie needs $470 million just to break even. Yeah, that might even be low, to be honest with you. At this point, is it time for Hollywood to say hasta la vista, baby, to the Terminator franchise? And dude, you're not wrong. This is one of those situations where you can be number one, and Terminator was number one at the box office this weekend, and still be a monumental disappointment. Look, Word is the production budget on this thing is anywhere between 180 and 190 million dollars. That is a huge risk on a franchise that has struggled for decades coming off of Terminator Genesis. And Rob, I have said on this show for a while, this new Terminator movie might be good, it might be bad, but even if it's great, this movie's going to struggle at the box office. And they have to know it's going to struggle at the box office because we've had decades of bad Terminator movies, and Genesis was just recently, and a lot of people have given up on it. Now, I saw Terminator Dark Fate, and I actually didn't mind it. It's not great. It's the best Terminator film since Terminator 2, which again isn't saying much, but it was a decent little film. I enjoyed it for the most part. But yeah, it has struggled mightily. Here's the top 5 of the box office this week. Terminator Dark Fate ended up making $29 million, which, hey, there are some movies that will pop in bottles of champagne if they could make $30 million opening weekend. Not a movie that cost $180 to $190 million to produce. Not good at all. Anyway, Joker came in at $13.9 million. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil came in at $12.1. It's hanging in there, actually. Harriet made $12. I wanted to go see Harriet this weekend, and something came up, and I couldn't go see it.
Good on Harriet. That's that movie.
Great.
That's great box
I might actually
office.
try to go see that tonight because I've heard decent thing. And The Addams Family, which, by the way, I thought looked stupid, and I thought was a stupid idea to make that movie. And I still haven't seen it because I have no interest in it. But it keeps chugging along. Makes another $8.5 million. But we come back, though, Rob, here. This whole thing about Terminator Dark Fate, there's no other way to put it. This is a disaster.
Yeah.
This is a disaster for them. There are sites right now that are forecasting with this opening, this movie is going to equal in losses anywhere between $100 to $130 million in losses. $100 to $130 million in losses when it's all said and done. This is on the back of a Paramount studio that has been struggling as it is. Now, Paramount co-financed this film. They had like Skydance and some other players involved as well. So their losses are going to be mitigated, but it's still in the millions and millions and millions more dollars that they're losing out on. They can't get another Bumblebee and another...
And following on the heels of Gemini Man.
And following on the heels of another monumental flop for them. They cannot get Top Gun 2 and another Bumblebee movie here fast enough for them. They need something badly. But let's focus on Terminator here for a second. It kind of happened the exact way I thought it would happen. It's not a bad movie. Not as good as I was hoping it would be. Not a bad little film, but it doesn't matter that it wasn't a bad little film. And as a matter of fact, it's being received well by just about everybody. When you go over and look at it on Rotten Tomatoes right now, 70% of the critics like it. 85% of the audience like. Remember, Rotten Tomatoes now has verified scores, which means these are actually people who saw the movie. They have almost 5,000 people registering votes. People are generally liking it. It's a good little movie, not bad, but not enough. Not enough. And it did. Look, I thought it was going to struggle. This is even more than I thought it was going to struggle. Let's be honest here. Rob, you look at this sort of a result, and what are you making out of this? What's the ramifications of this?
Look, here's my problem. I'm always about authorship. And when I see especially a genre movie, I want to know that I'm being told a story that has authors behind it, that has an author, that I'm getting some vision that somebody had to bring to the screen. This movie has like 6 writers. You know, it has a writing group. Tim Miller loved the franchise. I understand why he took the job directing this movie. But I feel that this movie had nothing new to say. And I think people felt that. It's a well-made movie.
Yeah, and you're saying that as somebody who didn't mind the movie.
No, it's a serviceable movie. It's got fun scenes in it, but when you're watching it, you're like, what have I been told that's new in this film? And I keep going back.
That isn't just a slight variation on what we've been told before.
I mean, I've often,
without giving any spoilers away.
No, exactly. And I've often talked about how Creed, what Ryan Coogler did with Creed for the Rocky franchise, he gave us new characters. And this movie, in a way, is very similar to Creed, what it was doing. But Creed had more heart, and you basically had one writer-director coming up with a story and implementing it. And the fight scenes in Creed were really interesting. And I look at a movie like this, and it had these 6 writers, and it's like I felt like I was watching, once again, and people have compared this movie to Force Awakens as like a cover band version of the Terminator, even though you have Linda Hamilton and you have Schwarzenegger coming back. There's nothing new. Like we talked about earlier, Terminator and Terminator 2 said all that needs to be said. There's literally been nothing new. The Sarah Connor Chronicles did some interesting things on TV, but there's nothing new in this film franchise. It's just been doing variations on a theme. And like you were saying, how dumb is Skynet? Why not send back 100 Terminators or go back to the dawn of man and kill Cro-Magnon man? Make it easy on yourself. Why do you keep doing the same thing that doesn't work?
Well, I guess they got to make sure that it still gets created, so you can't go too far back and wipe out the human race. I guess that's
it's true.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So they have that makes sense, but still,
logic in our science fiction.
It just feels like there's no new story to tell, and intellectually, I think movie-going audiences, they want to see something different because you know what John, you already know what's going to happen in this movie before you've even seen it. You're like, it's a Terminator movie, and sure, they have planes. They've got a great plane set piece that turns into a car set piece or whatever, but a truck set piece. It doesn't do anything new. And you watch this movie and you feel strangely empty when it's over because it's like, well, okay, I guess that's what Terminators are. It's, when you ride your favorite roller coaster over and over and over again, it's strangely familiar, but there's nothing new under the sun here.
And look, and I think the bottom line here is this. It just kind of states what a lot of people already knew. People were over Terminator. I mean, I think that message was sent pretty loud and clear with Genesis. People were over Terminator. They tried it again, but this time James Cameron's back as a producer. It would have been far more intriguing if James Cameron was back as the director, but he's busy making his 17, Avatar sequels that are never going to come out. So, and they will at some point. And okay, Arnold's back. Arnold was back before. Linda Hamilton's back. Okay, that was great. That's great. You got my attention. But the reality is it was too little, too late. Maybe if you had made this movie instead of Genesis, like if Genesis had never come out and we went right from Terminator Salvation and we've had nothing since, and then came Terminator Dark Fate, I think maybe it would have had more interest. But I think it's just a franchise that everybody was already over. And again, it's not a bad little movie.
No.
It's not a bad little movie, but it is just Terminator all again with some different terminology.
Yeah, and like, why watch this when you have to be better than Terminator 2? I
don't know that you got to be better than Terminator 2.
It's a really hard thing to do, but
it's next to impossible. That's one of the greatest sci-fi films of all time.
But if you can't do that, or at least aspire to do that, why are you showing us mediocre Terminator? If we've already had Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, and Terminator 1 is one of the greatest, call it a B movie, but low budget science fiction movies ever made in terms of its execution, so good. And if you're going to go back and you're going to spend $185 million, I mean, I think Terminator 1 cost $6. I know it was the 80s, but unless you can come and blow me away, why do it? That's why, I get excited for The Matrix. I think The Matrix 4, they've got stuff that we haven't seen before, so I'm like, oh, okay. Where are they going to take this franchise? But with Terminator Dark Fate, you watch a trailer and you're like, they're giving us everything that we've seen since 1984, just played differently.
I would suggest this. If the Terminator films that had come out had been at least as good as Terminator Dark Fate, or a little bit better, we would be seeing a very different result right now, because I don't think we'd see a franchise that everybody was over, because we've just had decades of crappy stuff over and over. See, I don't think you make the next gangster movie. It doesn't need to be as good as The Godfather to be a good, fun, enjoyable movie. I don't need every Marvel MCU movie to be as good as Captain America: The Winter Soldier to be a good, enjoy. If I know that when I go to see one of your movies, I'm pretty much guaranteed I'm going to have a good time. Doesn't have to be as good as the last time, but as long as you give me a good time. And I think people who have been wanting to see Terminator Genesis, or Terminator Dark Fate, I think we have given up on the idea that if I go to a Terminator movie, I'm going to have a good time. We don't believe that anymore.
Right.
Nobody believes that. And so even when they do make one that could be modestly enjoyable, it might be too little too late. But listen, guys, I made that the feature of today's question of the day. And my question of the day to you guys was simply this. Look, with Terminator doing well, and here's what I asked you guys. Despite being the best Terminator film in decades, which, let's face it, isn't saying much, Dark Fate has flopped hard. Is it time to put the Terminator franchise to bed? Right now, I put this up just before the show started. 2,200 of you guys have registered votes already, and overwhelmingly, 84% of you are saying yes. The Terminator's great. You've done the Terminator story, put it to bed. There are still I'll be honest with you, I think this percentage is a little bit higher than I thought it would be. 16% of you guys are still saying, no, it's not done yet. Take another crack at it. Maybe build on whatever modest quality success Dark Fate has. I don't know. You're saying go ahead and do it again. I got to tell you guys what, though. I tend to side with Robert on this. I think the story of Terminator has been done. And it's been done again, and it's been done again. If you put this thing to bed, maybe reboot it in 10 years and try Terminator 1 all over again. Maybe. But I think it's time to put this franchise to bed. The question here is, guys, what do you think about all that? Why do you think this film has struggled so much? Do you think it's just time to put this thing to bed? Do you think, no, take another kick at it now that James Cameron's back's in the fold? I don't know. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Jack Fitzgerald, who writes, after 5 weekends, Joker's global box office number sits at $934 million on an estimated budget of $55 to $70 million. I read someone's comment saying that Joker made more than 1/3 of Avatar's revenue on a budget 5 times less. It made more than 1/3 of Endgame's revenue on a budget 8 times less. Made almost half of Titanic's revenue on a budget 4 times less. So, does this make it one of the best theatrical runs in history? All right. Rob, we've talked a bunch here on this show about how, look, nobody at Warner's, nobody in Todd Phillips' household, nobody in Joaquin Phoenix's household ever remotely dreamed that Joker would make this much at the box office. And yet it has. To the point that I said, I don't think it's going to hit $1 billion, but it could. I thought, it could very definitely become the number 1 R-rated film. I still don't think it'll hit $1 billion, but even more today, it's very clear it's possible. It's running out of steam quickly, but it's getting close to that finish line. But the $1 billion club aside, this is still a movie, Rob, that has not had a release in China. It's an R-rated film. Batman ain't in it, which is telling you, Venom won't work without Spider-Man. No one's going to see that. Here you go. No one's going to go see Joker without Batman. And here we are. Rob, can we say, now clearly at $930 million, it is not the biggest box office hit of all time. But when you do put it in context,
oh yeah,
and you look at all these things, can you sit down and legitimately make an argument that as far as a theatrical run goes, this has to be considered amongst the most successful films of all time when you take all the factors into consideration? How would you address that?
100%. I mean, it's staggering because if you look at all the movies that went over $1 billion, those are effects heavy. The budgets were much bigger than this film. They were also, this is also, don't forget, R-rated. So it's not exactly like this is a 4-quadrant film, fun for the whole family. This is something that is truly unprecedented in Hollywood history. Now, it should not be underplayed that this is in fact a Batman movie. It is adjacent to the Batman franchise. And I think the fact that it is about one of the most famous comic book villains of all time, if not the most famous comic book villain of all time, that helps. So it's got the awareness. It's got, we've had this character for decades now. So that's part of it. I mean, it's who he is. But on the other hand, for the amount of money they spent, this is staggering, John. It's never happened before. And I would dare say, I'll bet when it comes out in the wash, if people, our viewer astutely pointed out, based on the metrics this could very well be the most profitable movie ever made.
Yeah,
if you include it as a single film, you could say, okay, Star Wars was because look what happened with it. But if you just took it on a case-by-case basis, a single movie case, this movie could very well be the most successful film
I think
ever made.
Percentages,
Yeah.
because when you look at like Endgame, for example, its literal profit numbers are in the billions. It's literal profit. So Joker's not going to get there, but percentage-wise,
That's what I mean, yes.
Yeah, percentage-wise, it's absolutely phenomenal. And look, you said it, Rob, but it can't be overstated. R-rated, no Chinese release, no Batman. Everybody said it's well, what's the point? What's the point if it's not a part of the shared cinematic universe? Everything's got to be part of the shared cinematic universe. What's the point of doing it if there's no shared cinematic universe? Blah, 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 blah. It had all these hurdles to overcome, and it overcame them all. And I think here's one of the things that I think is great about Joker. This is one of the things, because you all know I love this movie. And I've been cheering for this movie since day one, because like, finally, please work so we can get DC and Marvel recognized we can make some standalone, outside of the comic book, shared cinematic universe movies and tell some great stories. But here's the other thing that why I think this Joker movie is an important movie, Rob. And I haven't said this much. I don't think I brought this up before. And people may disagree with me, and that's fine. And maybe I'm wrong. But this is why I think this accomplishment isn't just great. I think the accomplishment is important. I've said before that for the first number of years that I did AMC and things like that, I often felt that a part of my job was trying to convince people to give comic book movies a shot. You know, for a lot of the years that I did the movie blog and then some For Your Consideration, then I got into AMC, I felt like part of my job was trying to tell people, give comic book movies a shot. And I've expressed that, you know, for the last number of years, I felt like things have shifted. And now I feel like part of my job is to convince some people to give something other than comic book movies a shot. Everybody goes to see comic book movies now, but I think there's a lot of people who that's all they go see. They just go see the comic book movies, the big genre films. And I feel like a part of my job has been trying to convince people, guys, there's some awesome other cinema out there too. And one of the things I think is really important and magnificent about Joker is I think it is very much a non-comic book movie. You know, it is a movie that really highlights what other type of cinema out there, because it isn't a stereotypical comic book movie by any stretch. And I think one of the reasons why not only is this movie great, but why I think it's also going to be important in the long run is I think a movie like Joker is going to turn some people, like maybe a lot of people who've just by choice limited what they watch to the genre and comic book stuff. I think this movie is going to open up a lot of people to some possibilities of a lot of other great cinema. I think somebody might watch Joker and go, you know what? That movie Parasite didn't look like anything I would watch, but after seeing how cool Joker was in that very different way, I might give that movie Parasite a look. I might go check out that movie, or I might go check out that movie. There's so many good things from comic book movies getting some standalone, isolated cinematic universe, isolated from the cinematic universe stuff, to just telling great stories, to maybe exposing people to other types of movies. This movie, I think 5, 6, 10 years from now, we're going to look back on Joker for a number of different reasons and saying that was a milepost kind of movie. That was a movie that shifted something, not tectonically, but shifted some little things here and there. And we're not just going to be talking about its money and how good the movie was, but how much of an impact. I think this movie is going to be one of those films that has a long-lasting impact on a lot of different areas. Anyway, guys, question is, what do you think about this run of Joker and the success that it's been having? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know what you think about that. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 4. And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by David H., who writes, "Hey, John. So the Hollywood Reporter is running a story that director Payton Reed has signed on for Ant-Man 3. They never announced an Ant-Man movie for Phase 4 or 5. Well, they haven't made any Phase 5 announcements, really. Anyway, what's the deal? Are they making an Ant-Man 3? And if so, why did they not announce anything?" All right. Well, first of all, David, and thank you a lot for the question, man. First of all, I mean, the only thing they've announced officially for Phase 5 is Black Panther 2. That's the only thing where Kevin Feige himself has come out and they said, this is coming in this year. Like, we know there's a Doctor Strange 2 coming, and we know there's a lot of other things.
Well, Guardians 3.
And Guardians 3 as well. We know that's coming, but they haven't really done an official phase 5. And by the way, Kevin Feige has said he's got the next 5 years mapped out.
Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff that they haven't officially announced yet. There's tons and tons and tons. So that's a non-point. We don't need to worry about that. Rob, I've said before that I don't think they're going to do another Ant-Man film. I would love them to do another Ant-Man film. I really like Ant-Man. So lo and behold, when the Hollywood Reporter on Friday afternoon came out and said this, that Ant-Man, they're going to do it. They have signed on Payton Reed, who I think has done a great job with Ant-Man and the sequel as well. And it's coming. And then they wrote, no release details have been confirmed, but sources say the plan is to shoot at the end of 2020 or the top of 2021 for a likely release in 2022. Sources say that sequels Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness and Thor Love and Thunder will shoot before Ant-Man 3. But right now, the word is that Ant-Man 3 is going to come in 2022. And as I was mentioning, Rob, like, I've always wanted more Ant-Man, because I love Paul Rudd as this character. I love Michael Douglas as Hank Pym. I love the cast. I love Michael Pena as Luis. I could watch that dude. I could watch that Michael Pena playing that character for an entire movie. I could just watch him playing that character. But I thought, and I said, Ant-Man's story is now done. And when you look at the fact that while it's been financially successful, it's been on the lower end of financial success when you compare it to the rest of the MCU. And with his storyline culminating in the events of Endgame, I really thought, as much as I would love another Ant-Man, I don't think they're going to do another one. I think they're going to move on. They've got all these other characters, and now they've got this whole X-Men universe and Fantastic Four, and then what are they going to do with Deadpool? I just thought there's no more room for Ant-Man, and I'm just grateful that they gave us the Ant-Man films they did, and I would love them to do another one, but I don't think they will. And here we are. Here we are. Now, here's something. I'm going to throw this out there, Rob, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I once said before, in the conversation of who in the current stable of Marvel directors, because, I don't like X director with X movie, any talented director, and I'm good. But in the question of what specific director who are currently already in the stable of Marvel directors could I see doing Fantastic Four? And my pick was, I think the best suited, not the best director overall, but the best suited out of that limited number of directors, I think is Payton Reed. I think Payton Reed could be a decent choice to do. All of them could do well, but I guess my pick would be Payton Reed. So somebody tweeted to me and asked me, John, now that he's doing that, do you still think he'd be a good choice for Fantastic Four? I'm going to tell you what. I thought Ant-Man wouldn't come back because the storyline was played out. I think with the connection with Hank Pym, brilliant minds, talking about the quantum realm and blah, 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 I'm going to make a completely unfounded, nothing to base this on, wild prediction. Ant-Man 3 introduces the Fantastic Four. And then Payton Reed will go on to direct a Fantastic Four. Again, nothing to base that on. I have no insider information. That's where I am. So number one, I'm surprised they're doing an Ant-Man 3. Number two, I'm thrilled they're doing an Ant-Man 3. Number three, I think with the connections with Hank Pym, I think this is how they're going to introduce the Fantastic Four. I could be totally wrong about that. But anyway, Rob, you heard this news about Ant-Man 3. Are you surprised? And do you think they should do an Ant-Man 3?
First of all, I really like both Ant-Man movies. And I enjoy, like you said, I love the cast. They feel different than the rest of the MCU because they've stayed relatively more intimate. They're family movies. And like you said, they just keep adding to the family. They rescued Michelle Pfeiffer. And I was thinking...
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh my God. And I was thinking, what I think in Ant-Man... They've talked about these movies, how they're heist movies. And I was thinking, okay, now they have a much bigger cast of characters than the first Ant-Man. I'm thinking, and they obviously clearly have a story. They already had a story. They don't just drop... This did not just happen out of the blue. This has been something that they've been talking about. They have obviously decided to pull the trigger. And like the Russians in Hunt for Red October, they don't do anything without a plan. And let me tell you, Kevin Feige has a plan, and I think you're right. I think even if it's in a post-credit scene, the Fantastic Four are somehow going to be introduced in this movie. And I also think it's going to be like Ocean's 11. It's going to be a much bigger caper that involves our entire cast, which is great, participating, whether they have to rescue the Fantastic Four or whether there's something involved with the Fantastic Four, the Quantum Realm, whatever they're going to do. They know what they're going to do. It's going to involve all of their family, the family that is in the movie. And I think we're going to see something special. They're also going to make Cassie, the daughter. It's Cassie.
Right, yeah.
She's going to have a big role to play. And they know what they're doing. This is something that was greenlit and it was started for a reason. And I think you're right. I think they're going to introduce Fantastic Four and Payton Reed. They talked about Payton Reed was going to direct a Fantastic Four movie. It was going to be a period piece.
Right, yeah.
Well, what better way to go and I mean, how cool would it be that you go back and the Fantastic Four are the Fantastic Four from the 1960s, and maybe nobody thought to call them superheroes yet or whatever.
And they got caught in the Quantum Realm.
They got Quantum Realm, and something happened, and the whole movie is about them rescuing the Fantastic Four, and I'm like, that could be dope. You know, and it's like an Ocean's 11. Everybody has to play their part. You could even get Luis wearing, you know, again, he's part of it. You know, they're all suited up like the Avengers going back in time. It could be really cool.
You could have a little Captain America flavor in there too, with the characters out of time and stuff like this. I mean, there's a lot. Again, we've got nothing to base this on.
No.
This is all pure theory.
But we do have 23 movies, and we know how they think now.
Yeah, we're starting to get that sort of picture.
And I think that there's a reason why they did this, the way they did it, how they did it. They know what's up.
Question here is, guys, what do you think about the announcement that they're going to be doing Ant-Man 3? Payton Reed returns. Do you like the idea? Were you surprised like I was surprised? And what do you think ultimately could be? Could there be any tie with Fantastic Four? What do you guys think about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts.
It's got to be John Krasinski.
Let's move on to the fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets sent in to us from Kevin, who writes, Sony Pictures Animation has finally announced an April 8th, 2022 release date for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2. Do you think 2022 is a long time away? Knowing how animated sequels released more than 3 years after their predecessors tends to not do nearly as well financially, do you think the same will happen to Spider-Verse 2? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And first of all, yay! Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2. Dude, I couldn't be more thrilled. I couldn't be. Now, look, we've known they were going to do one. I mean, Amy Pascal said, just a month after the release of the first one, is like, yeah, we've already got our ideas about where the second one will go and all that kind of stuff. So we knew it was going to come. This one did not make huge money at the box office. It didn't make massive money at the box office. And that's fine. Because it was a movie that was animated, with a Spider-Man that wasn't Peter Parker and looked a little strange. And yet it still managed to be a little bit profitable. And in my estimation, was the third best, not animated film, it was the third best movie of the year. I personally only had it behind A Quiet Place and BlacKkKlansman, personally. I loved this movie. And I was one of the people yucking on it. This is a dumb idea. Why make this movie? Blah, blah, blah. That was me. And then I fell in love with this movie so passionately. I love it so much. Now, 3 years, it's almost 3 years. It's coming out in April. That means almost 3 years. It's a bit, but it's not like, for instance, I think Frozen, I believe, had a longer stretch. Now, Wreck-It Ralph also had a long stretch, and it didn't do as well the follow-up. But I think this one is building on a position of strength. This is coming off an Academy Award win. It was the best, and people get mad at me when I say this. I don't care. Infinity War wasn't the best comic book movie that year, to me. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was the best comic book film of that year. It was the best animated film of the year, and I think the third best movie of the year. I cannot wait to see what they do with this next one. So it's a little far off. I would have liked to have seen maybe a mid 2021, sure, but hey, you know what? Take your time. It's not like it's an Avatar situation. We got to wait 5 years. So I'm good with it. It does seem a little long, but overall, I'm just absolutely thrilled. Now, Rob, I know you didn't like Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse as much as I did, but what do you think about this news?
No, I really liked it. But first of all, it's an animated movie. Animated movies take a while to make.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the production pipeline. 3 years is not unusual for an animated movie from inception to release.
Right.
So I think that doesn't
Especially
matter.
as stylized as this one.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to get this right. It's how they make animated movies today. It takes longer. So I think this is a great move. While I didn't love this movie as much as you did, I liked it a lot. It certainly was enjoyable. I had so much fun with it. And the fact that, I mean, if you think about what this movie's, the whole multiverse, the idea of bringing Peter Porker, the spectacular Spider-Ham, is in a movie.
Do you float through the air when you smell a delicious pie?
I mean, all of this stuff in this film, but the fact that this movie works as well as it does is a marvel. It's a marvel. and I didn't mean to do that. And I think it's fantastic that they're doing another one. It's a great movie, and it's one of those films that people are just going to watch more and more and more. By the time everybody will have seen this movie so many times, it'll be a favorite of a lot of people, and it's going to do huge. This movie is going to way outgross the first film because it's going to have so much goodwill by the time we get to it. I think it's a great move by all involved, and kudos for them for pulling the trigger.
It's kind of the absolute opposite situation of a Terminator Dark Fate, where you're like, decades of crap, people hated the stuff that's come out previously, and now you're like, come back. Like even Mackenzie Davis at the screening that I saw Terminator Dark Fate at, she came out to introduce the film. She goes, tell everybody to come see it. I know Terminator 6 is a tough sell, but try to convince them to see it. Like even they knew. This is different. This Spider-Man movie is coming off a position of complete strength. Now, I'm not saying this Spider-Man movie is going to make $1 billion. I'm not saying that. But I agree. It's going to eclipse what the first one made and hopefully continue building on strength. Question here is, guys, what do you think about finally the official announcement, April 2022, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2? I couldn't be more happy or more excited. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, that does it for all of our main topics today. Thank you to all you guys who sent in those main topics. Now we're going to move on and take some live questions from you guys. But before we do, we're going to take just a short break for a couple of minutes here, stretch our legs, refill our drinks, things like that. So if you will be patient and hang with us ever so patiently, we will be right back with your live questions. Hang tight. We will be right back. Thank you so much, everybody, for your patience and your indulgence as we took a little bit of a break. And now, let's jump on over and start taking your live questions. We're going to start things off with the Mandalorian of Gondor, who writes, just saw The Irishman at the Egyptian Theater. Wow, what a film. The performances, writing was amazing. The pacing was great, but didn't need to be nearly 4 hours long. And I heard it was a madhouse trying to go to see that movie at the Egyptian because that theater still lives in the dark ages and they don't have pre-assigned seating. But because Rob, I know you wanted to go see it at the Egyptian, but you got kind of turned off by that.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine say that it was kind of a shit show. Trying to get in. People were waiting in line all the way out into Hollywood Boulevard. But don't let that put you off. If you live in L.A., go to the Alamo Drafthouse, go to the Egyptian, see The Irishman in the theaters.
Right, which I'm not going to. I'll be honest with you.
Come on, dude.
Nah, I mean, it's if I had to wait 2 months to see it on Netflix, I would go see it. I've just got to wait a few more days. I'll probably wait a few more days. All right, Alex Hania writes, I finally saw Lighthouse. From a technical standpoint, it's an absolute masterpiece, but the style of story technique just isn't my thing, dude. Don't feel bad because I can guarantee you're not alone.
Yeah.
You are not alone. That movie is, look, I really enjoyed the film, and even I came out of it going, what the hell did I just watch?
Right.
It is one of those things. I can't remember, Rob, did you see it yet?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but it's not going to be a movie that everybody likes,
No,
right?
it feels like it's a movie out of time that was made in a totally different era. So I don't begrudge anybody. It's not their thing. It's unique.
It's very different. It's an Eggers movie. It's
right.
Totally an Eggers movie. The guy, you could tell this is a movie made by the guy who made The Witch.
Yeah.
All right, Cameron Wiskovich writes, John, this Sunday, November 3rd, marked the 65th anniversary of the Godzilla franchise. 65 years of nuclear terror. Long live the king. And we just happen to have one of the world's biggest Godzilla fans here. Rob, I didn't even know it was the anniversary.
Dude, let me just tell you what happened. Barnes & Noble is having their 50% off sale. And guess what dropped last week, yo? The Showa-era box set from Criterion. 15 Godzilla movies remastered on Blu-ray. You can get it in a beautiful book. I mean, including my beloved Godzilla vs. Monsters Zero. I'm so excited. I ordered it from Barnes & Noble, 50% off, just in time for the big guy's 60th.
All right, nice anniversary. Thanks for bringing that up. 60th. All right, Mr. 47 writes, I think the Terminator IP should be left alone. There's not many places where you can go with it story-wise. My opinion, we've got 2 classics already. And Rob, you and I were actually talking about this a little bit before we started the show. It's like, really, when you think about what is the Terminator, the idea of there's a war of the machines in the future. They send a machine back to kill the leader of the resistance. That's not a story that lends itself to 5 chapters or 10 chapters. And I've heard some people say, make a television. That's everybody's common answer now. Make a television series. I don't see how you make a television series. It kind of does feel like it's played out, don't you think?
Yes. I mean, what's so great is the Terminator still exists. The first Terminator, 108 minutes of B-movie perfection. It's interesting. I went back and watched the Siskel and Ebert. Somebody's dropping all their old Siskel and Ebert reviews from their videotapes from the 80s online. And Gene Siskel did not like the first Terminator. Roger Ebert did. The first Terminator ruled.
So
and when
good.
you went and saw it in the theater, I was blown away because like RoboCop, the Terminator, it seemed like some cheesy Italian, knockoff movie, and it wasn't. I mean, it was amazing, and they haven't gone any further. Terminator 2 flipped the script, and then that's it. It was James Cameron's thing, and it worked. They haven't really done anything new. The Sarah Connor Chronicles TV series was actually pretty good, but even that played it out.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Next one up is Alex Hania, who writes and sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Alex, for supporting the channel on that level, dude. We appreciate that. In an effort to shorten the Oscars, would it be conducive to combine mixing and editing into one category? You probably mean sound. Sound design? I understand the difference between the two, but would it be an injustice to either if they became one award? Well, okay, so here's the big problem with what you're suggesting. By the way, I'm always looking for great ideas to shorten the Oscars. The presentation, all right? Shorten the presentation. But here's the thing. You do not compromise what the awards are for the sake of the awards show.
Right.
There's a reason. All sound professionals will tell you there is a big difference between sound design and or sound mixing, the two different sound things. And so you don't compromise that just for the sake of the show. You don't do that. So no, you don't make a fundamental decision around the Oscars themselves just to accommodate the Oscar show. Now, we can have a debate and a discussion about, Rob, about maybe one of the two should be presented off screen. Maybe they should be handed out the technical awards. Maybe they should make sure they just present them very rapidly at the same time. I don't know. But I don't think you get rid of one of the awards just so you can have a slightly shorter show. I don't think you do that. But that's just, what do you think, Rob?
Well, first of all, no, you shouldn't get rid of that because you're talking about when you go see a movie, it's an audio visual experience. So cinematography and sound design are two of the very foundational components of great cinema. And like, I'll give you an example. The movie that I'm working on now, that I'm post-supervising, Tango Shalom, that I also edited the picture on. The sound design has been worked on for 6 months. It's a low-budget indie movie, but it's a musical. It's got dance sequences in it. And all of the sound is being designed. You know, it's being created. Like Ben Burtt, who did Star Wars, the sound design, he created all those sounds. He made up those sounds. He would go record different things. Why does a TIE fighter... Can you imagine Star Wars without sounds like lightsabers or TIE fighters in them? Everybody knows what a TIE fighter sounds like when it screams by or when a lightsaber is ignited. Those things are iconic. And that was a sound designer who did all of that and sound editing as well. Can you imagine Star Wars without those things in them? Don't you think that those sound effects are iconic and worthy of celebration? I don't think they should be removed. They're as important as anything else.
All right. We move on here. Next one up is also Alex who writes, I used to live in the hood you walk through in Thoughts on Walks. I would go to the AMC 6 and then grab a bite to eat at Harry's. My wife and I go to Harry's every once in a while. Good times. Yeah, so my Thoughts on Walk segments, I try to get in my 5 miles a day, and so I started recording some videos while I do them. And yeah, like Burbank's a beautiful town, man. I gotta say, I heard some people trash talking to it before I moved here, and then I moved here to Burbank. It's like, God, I love this town. This is great. And I've got 3 beautiful AMC theaters within a 10 to 15 minute walk of where I live. Got the AMC Burbank 16, the AMC 6, which all the theaters in the AMC 6 are all motorized leather recliners, and the AMC 8, which also is all motorized leather recliners. It's great. They're 3 all within a 5 minute walk of each other. It's a fabulous neighborhood to live in. All right. Uncharted Halo writes, I'm glad Ant-Man 3 is happening because I just like seeing a complete trilogy. It's the same reason why I hope Ryan Reynolds gets to make Deadpool 3. Well, listen, I hope Ryan Reynolds gets to do Deadpool 3 just because I want to see Deadpool 3.
Right.
Has nothing to do with, doesn't quite feel fulfilled yet if it's not a trilogy. I just want to see another one. And I guarantee you, Kevin Feige's thinking isn't, well, we have to finish the Ant-Man trilogy. It's because he's got an idea that needs Ant-Man. Or do you think there might be, like you, Rob, you're a self-admitted completionist. Do you think maybe part of the decision to do another Ant-Man is just to round out the trilogy?
No, I don't. I really think they have an idea. I mean, maybe, but I think that they've got an idea. You know, I didn't think they knew whether they were going to make a second Ant-Man after they made the first Ant-Man. But I think, look, Ant-Man to me stands alone. If I was going to show my mother an MCU movie, she's never seen one, I'd show her Ant-Man. She would love it. She would find it delightful. It's easy to understand. There's no mythology that I'd have to explain to her. She gets the idea. A guy gets released from prison, wants to get back with his family, wants to be a father to his daughter, and then finds this wacky suit. So it's the kind of thing that I think the Ant-Man franchise is delightful. And it's easily, you know what, when I see my mom next, she's in Seattle, she might have to have some surgery. I'm going to make her watch Ant-Man, and I'm going to report back to you, John. And so I think they have a really good idea for Ant-Man.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, Enrique, and hope your mom's surgery goes well.
Yeah, we'll find out today. She has something wrong with her neck.
Okay. Enrique Mija writes, hello, everyone. Just wanted to know, Rob, if you bought the new Lion King movie on the 4K disc, that transfer is reference quality. Go Hawks.
Over or under? I'd say 100%.
You did get it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can't not have it. Plus, I got the animated Lion King, and you gotta have them, you have to have them both. But yes, the quality of that disc is Amazing.
All right, Dim-Sum05 writes, serious question. Do you consider yourself a performer? I ask because you put so much effort into the show. Not insinuating you're a phony or anything. No, I do. That's a good question.
Dude, you were part of a dance crew.
Well, I was
You're
part
a performer.
of it, and I was in bands and things like that. But doing here what we do on this show, I don't know. Look, you can say of anybody's job, you have excellent performance at your job. Like if you're an accountant, you can like turn in a great performance with a project that you do or whatever. Does that make you a performer? I don't think I'm a performer.
Dude, you are.
Well, when I pick up my guitar, I'm a performer.
You're online, live, going out. You know, not a lot of people can do this. You are a performer. You are. You're delivering that's why people tune in. You know, you're not just some schlep rock who turns on his computer. Hey, what's up? You're giving people what they want.
But I mean, at this, I don't know if I get that qualification because
is Ellen DeGeneres a performer?
Well, she's a stand-up comedian,
but she's still. I mean, she talks to people.
Well, that's true. Okay. I guess the thing is, like when you, like Rob, you can attest to this. Like when you and I are talking about movies off camera, this is me. I mean, this is how I talk.
It's true, but you still have a bright, shining personality you're making come through the YouTube screens for people to watch, because a lot of people don't have that ability. You know, a lot of people are not naturally, they don't know how to be charismatic on camera.
I think it's a good question. What do you guys think? Do you guys think like YouTubers are also inherently, even if they're just being themselves, are YouTubers inherently performers? I'd be curious. I've never really thought about it. It's a great question, Dim Sum. All right, City of Swift writes, just a heads up for any fans of The Office. Jenna and Angela have a podcast called Office Ladies. It's neat. Dude, I saw this news announcement a couple of weeks ago because the two of them, by the way, the girl who plays Pam, the girl who plays Pam was actually James Gunn's ex-wife. They were married, and they remain very good friends. But anyway, so the two of them, the girl who played Pam, the girl who played Angela, they are actually in real life best friends. They're besties, and they've started their own podcast about The Office, talking about behind-the-scenes stories. I didn't realize it had started, but I'm down for that. I want to listen to that podcast, so sign me up. All right, Dim-Sum05 writes, I have only ever teared up 3 times in a movie. When Mama Coco sang Remember Me, when the Na'vi lost their tree, and victory celebration, #YubNub. That is the biggest... Look, as terrible as the Jabba stuff is in the special editions, as terrible as Jabba's Palace rock show is, as bad as a lot of the stuff is in the special editions, to me the greatest offense was the removal of YubNub at the end of Return of the Jedi. Now, don't get me wrong. The Zamfir pan flute, hoo, 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 hoo. It's a nice little piece of music. Don't get me wrong. It's a nice little piece of music. But there was something about the visceral tribalness of YubNub and the celebration that is so inherently a part of the end of Return of the Jedi that to me is the biggest offense.
Dude, Sebastian Shaw being removed. The old Anakin.
The old Anakin.
To make it fit with the... if you're that dude, if you're Sebastian Shaw and you're like, yeah, I show up at the end of Return of the Jedi, and you showed up at the end of Return of the Jedi for 20 years. Your relatives see you as a Force ghost, and then one day you're removed, scrubbed from history.
True, but I see. Here's the thing. I'm okay with that. I'm okay, just as I'm okay with them replacing the original Emperor in Empire Strikes Back in the thing with
Clive
Ian McDiarmid.
Rebel was awesome.
Because it was what was best for the movies. It's more consistent. It brings it into line with being consistent with the rest of the movies. And
like
so
20 years later, it's just scrubbing history. It's 1984 shit.
That may be the case, but at least there is a narrative argument for that we all now know that is what the Emperor is, and that's who the Emperor is, and that's what the Emperor looks like. So if you can take advantage of technology to then, well, make it consistent, I get the purpose for doing it. I'm not saying I would have done it. I'm not saying I would have done it myself. But I can at least in that sense think, well, there's some justification for it because it makes it consistent with the other films. But the YubNub thing?
Okay.
No.
Let me offer a retort.
Okay.
when you move off of Endor and you show the celebrations on Bespin or Coruscant, would Yub Nub have worked? Yub Nub work when you're staying Endor, the forest moon of Endor centric. But once you get away into the rest of the galaxy, you sort of have to insinuate that they too. What I liked about this, I like how you put it, Zamfir pan flute. I love that piece of music.
It's a decent piece of
And
music.
putting
Yeah,
it
don't get me wrong.
over
It's a
the
decent
other
piece of music.
celebrations across the galaxy, it seemed more inclusive once you've done that. But you're right. I mean, celebrate the love, John. Celebrate the love. Yep. I mean, come on. I mean, they should somehow have figured out a way to make it both work. Maybe they'll play it at the end of Rise of Skywalker. Maybe they'll bring back Yub Nub.
Well, only if the Ewoks are there. Only if the Ewoks
If they're
are
on
there.
Endor.
I don't think they are in Endor.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
I don't think they're on Endor. All right, let's move on here. Winso writes, Ant-Man, a trilogy, Man of Steel didn't even get a sequel. It's, oh, dude, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. This is a placeholder name writes, have you ever seen a movie in other countries? Canada doesn't count. German theaters serve very different foods from the U.S., such as crepes. That's interesting. Well, Canadian theaters serve poutine. You can actually get poutine at Canadian theaters. I have never been to a movie in another country.
I saw The Hobbit in Denmark. In Copenhagen, and it was awesome. The theater, you know why? Because I think here's the thing about European theaters: the European theaters treat movies like art. You know, there's such a great art history, art tradition in Europe. You know, you think about seeing all the museums and things. That movies are, I think, there's an elevated thing about movies that are in Europe, and maybe that's just me romanticizing. I romanticize all of Europe anyway, but I think it's more romantic there, and you feel like it means more. Movies mean more when you go into theaters in Europe. I also saw Sex and the City in Bulgaria.
I remember you telling me about that.
When we were making Kills Run Red. And that theater, I thought, these theaters are going to suck. No, the theaters in Bulgaria were awesome. The projection was good. The food was good. I had a great time in Sofia.
All right, Matt Sujata writes, Paramount needs paramedics, bum, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong. They're struggling right now, dude. They are really struggling.
Get them into the operating room, stat.
Humanity Never Learns writes, Avatar 2 trailer starts, I'm going hunting. And hey, listen, look, I don't want to overstate it, but I've been saying a while, you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression. And that first trailer, because of that stupid music that did not fit with not only did it not fit with the movie, it didn't fit with the trailer, was so off-putting. And I'm not saying that it's because of that song. Let's be clear that that's why, but I'm saying it didn't help. When your first trailer is something that instantly puts people off, that doesn't help. All right. This is a placeholder name writes, when I saw Terminator had an opening of 30 million, I thought it wasn't bad if the budget was 70 million. 185 million for an R-rated movie? Damn. Well, I don't know. Clearly they thought, well, everybody's going to come rushing back out because James Cameron's attached as a producer? I don't know. Like, how do you come off Genesis and think, yeah, let's make an R-rated movie and let's make it for $185 million and everybody's going to come see it?
I think they were hoping for like what happened with Halloween.
Yeah, but that was
you bring back
so many years later.
Well, Jamie Lee Curtis comes back, you know, and or like a Creed. They had the ingredients. I just think that ultimately, like you said, the Terminator franchise, people are just tired of it. Show me something new.
But even like Creed was coming off of a relative position of strength.
Yes.
Rocky Balboa was a wonderful movie.
Yep.
It was really I don't know.
True.
It is an odd situation. It's definitely an odd situation. All right. Next one up is Nathan Oswald, who writes, birthdays. Matthew McConaughey turns 50. All right. Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, is 58. Loretta Swift is 82. Loretta Swift turns 82. I love always hearing about the celebrity birthdays. That's great. Matthew McConaughey. Damn, I hope I look that good when I'm 50. Well, let's be honest. I'd sell my soul to the devil to look that good right now. All right, Sam O'Neill writes, hey, John, just wondering if you've seen Little Nicky, the Adam Sandler film. I sure have. With Adam Sandler, my best mate, and I love Adam Sandler, and we love watching his movies whenever we get drunk. Just love stupid, silly comedy. Listen, that came in the era, Rob, when we now live in an era where Adam Sandler's comedies suck. But a lot of people may forget there was an era when Adam Sandler was king. And
yeah.
he made some awesome, and Little Nicky is one of those films that came out in that era. Do you remember that film?
Oh, of course. I saw Little Nicky. I liked my favorite. I don't know if it's of the same era because I think Little Nicky was after, but I love Happy Gilmore.
Oh, I love Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Waterboy is still Waterboy's still my favorite.
I mean, what is the Wedding Singer?
Yep.
That's like a masterpiece in terms of Adam Sandler's
But
output.
Little Nicky was one of the films that helped set up, because of the relationships, a tragically underrated comedy that I adore called Grandma's Boy.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God, it's so good. And a couple of the guys came out of that, and it's kind of where the first ideas for it came out of. If you haven't seen Grandma's Boy, watch Grandma's Boy. I love this. It's so ridiculously stupid funny. It's so funny. Okay, anyway, let's move on here. Syrian Douglas writes, did you hear about Lady Gaga Ridley Scott project? Yeah, I did read about that. It looks like that's going to be the next one. It's not, the ink isn't dry on that one yet, so let's see what happens, but that could be a really interesting thing. Mike Riff writes, saw The Lighthouse at Cinemark. What a great film. Almost walked out before it started. At the scheduled start time, they played 30 minutes of trailers and commercials. Some commercials even twice. Ugh. Mike, listen, I think this is one of the biggest problems in the movie theater and movie-going experience today. We pay to be there, all right? This isn't free television where, hey, you got to show us commercials. We get it. You're showing us a free TV show. No problem. We pay money to be in there. I pay more to you for one movie than I do for my monthly Hulu subscription with no ads. And you have the audacity to show me a half hour of preamble garbage? Don't get me wrong. I love trailers. I do. But 20, 25, 30 minutes, unacceptable. You tell me it's an 8 o'clock start time. You fucking show me a movie at 8 o'clock, you sons of bitches. I mean, that's it. You want to show 45 minutes of trailers before the scheduled start time? Fine. Or at least advertise. There should be a law. I think there should be a law that says if you're a movie theater, you can advertise the start of showtime, but right beside it, you have to put in the start of the movie time. Then I'm fine. You want to say showtime starts at 7 p.m. Movie starts at 7:29. Then at least be honest. Anyway, I got to be careful because I can go off on this for an hour. So I'm gonna move off this. All right. Heroes Fan Productions writes, I guess you can say Spider-Verse 2 is miles away. Bum. I don't know. But I like it. All right. My name is Blue writes, DC is on a hot streak financially and critically. Mixed to positive with their last 3 films, Aquaman, Shazam, and now Joker. Of course, that's not the DCEU, but still whatever. If Birds of Prey flops critically, is DC back to square one? I would say this, Rob. I say they're on a winning streak. I don't think one loss in a winning streak puts you back to square one.
No.
And by the way, because I don't think a lot of us have very high expectations of Birds of Prey anyway, I think there's a lot of us that are already looking past Birds of Prey to Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, if Birds of Prey craps the bed, I don't think that derails the momentum that DC's on right now. Now, if Birds of Prey sucks and Wonder Woman 84 is a disappointment, well, okay, that might be a different story, but I don't think it derails it. Do you?
No, not at all. I mean, first of all, how much did Birds of Prey cost? I don't think it's a $200 million break
it's
the
whatever
bank.
they paid Margot Robbie plus
Right.
$5 million more.
But they probably got her at a price too because she's a producer on it. You know, so
Right.
she it's in her best interest to make the movie as good as it can possibly be. I mean, maybe they'll find their girl power formula and it'll do really well. I mean, I wasn't necessarily too impressed by what I saw from that trailer, but you never know. I mean, again, I hold out hope for everything until I see it. But I think, why consider that it's going to be a failure? I mean, people love Harley Quinn. People love that character. And I think people are going to turn out for this.
I'm still dubious. Still dubious. I hope it's great, though. I hope it's great. I hope the same thing happens with the movie that happened with Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse for me. All right, the official Ice Pack Calicious writes, And he sends in a really large super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel on that level, dude. We really appreciate it around here. All right. I watched Dark Fate last night. Wow. I was surprised how much I ended up loving it. T2 is still my favorite, obviously. And I know this sounds crazy, but I honestly think this movie replaced the first one. Really? Shout out to my effing boy, Carl. Whoo. I mean, that's the beauty of film, dude. I mean, it's all subjective. We all have different experiences with it. Saying it might replace the first one, that's because, I mean, Rob, you and I just talked about this the other day. Terminator 1 and 2 are eerily like Alien 1 and 2, where the first movie is kind of one genre, and then the next movie comes out and kind of, as you put it, flips the script and becomes like a different sort of genre. But they're both remarkable. They're both incredible. And part twos of both those franchises went on to become one of the greatest action films of all time. But yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to prove there is a number of things in this film that are enjoyable. I mean, but replacing the first Terminator, I don't know. It's a very different movie though, Rob.
Well, it is. And look, remember the first Terminator was a low budget film, and it's essentially James Cameron's debut. Yes, I know. He made Piranha 2: The Spawning, which he was fired off of. But Terminator is the culmination of everything he'd learned as a special effects technician on movies like Escape from New York and Galaxy of Terror, and what he learned on Piranha, obviously. But it's a movie that was done for a very low budget. And it's scrappy, and it uses physical effects. And for what it is, it's 35 years old. And Terminator Dark Fate has the advantage of using everything that's happened in terms of movie-making technology over the last 35 years. So from today's perspective, it's initially going to be easily, it goes down a lot easier than a 35-year-old low-budget film. So I think in a way you could watch Dark Fate and go, oh, I understand from a modern perspective, but from a historical perspective and from a career perspective, Terminator is one of the most incredible debut films of any filmmaker over the last half century.
I agree. Again, it's a tough one to go off of. All right, next one up here. Kenneth Colton writes, "Happy Monday, Gio." Thank you so much, Kenneth. So it looks like Terminator Dark Fate could lose the studio over $100 million. Yeah, and anyway, I've read numbers from $100 to $130 million. It is, look, there's no sugarcoating this. This is a disaster. This is an absolute disaster. Even understanding that a lot of people like me said, look, you got to temper your expectations. This isn't going to be a hit. And even if they understood that, I think this has got to be considered completely disastrous. Willow Yang writes, "I attempted your butter straw trick yesterday, only there was a leak at the bottom of the... Oh, that's no good. There was a leak at the bottom of the bag and the grease seeped out all over my lap. Hashtag fail." You know what? Here's an important thing though, Willow. And for any of you wanting to attempt this at home, you don't put the straw to the very bottom of the bag. You put it to about, 1/3 of the way to the bottom of the bag, and then you start dispensing the butter. So a lot of the butter gets actually into the popcorn and not going down. But yeah, that sucks. You had a leak at the bottom of the bag.
Should you only do it with the tub, John? Should you go for the cardboard tub and not the bag?
I do it with the bag. I've had success with the bag. Mostly because a lot of the butter then gets seeped into the popcorn before it gets to the bottom of the bag. But then again, I mean, even if it does get to the bottom of the bag, it shouldn't seep through too quickly. Now, I always...
Have you ever had that happen to you?
No. But I always, whenever I'm going to have a bag of popcorn on my lap, I always put a napkin on my lap anyway, between my pants and the bag. Very key. These are important life lessons I'm dishing out here, folks. I hope you're taking notes. All right. Next one up. Jonathan Camacho writes, "Hey, John. I finally subscribed to A-List and saw Terminator this weekend. I didn't like the movie, but A-List is great, as you have been saying. Also, saw The Lighthouse, and wow, the acting is insanely good." Rob, look, you and I, we're both like, oh yeah, really great movie. Kind of what the F am I watching? But dude, the acting in this movie, Willem Dafoe puts on a clinic. Robert Pattinson's incredible in it. But talk a little bit about like just the acting. Put into context for some people about just how special the acting in this thing is.
Well, first of all, it's like you're watching something that takes place both in another time period and another planet. I mean, the aspect ratio, the black and white, the square frame, it really does seem like this comes from, it's almost like you're watching a documentary from some strange, I mean, I've never been to Nova Scotia, but this weather beaten, you're at the end of the world on this rock outcropping where this lighthouse exists. it seems like there's nobody else on the planet Earth except these two guys, and the isolation and the sound and the strangeness of it all. And you're wondering, what is Willem Dafoe doing up in that lighthouse? Because he doesn't let Robert Pattinson up where the actual light is.
Yeah, we don't give anything away.
And it's just like, what's happening here? And it really, what I love about it, it's so evocative. It just it takes you to another place. I don't want to ever go to that place again, but it takes you to another place. And watching these guys, I mean, part of the reason you believe what you're watching, it's so compelling to watch, is because it's not just the words that come out of their mouths. It's just their actions. Like Pattinson has to do all this drudgery, like he has to do what he has to do every day to maintain the lighthouse, whether it's keeping coal in it to stoke the fire to keep everything working, or whether it's taking things to and fro or fixing things. I mean, you watch all of that. And I believed that I wasn't watching actors. I really believed that I was watching these two guys that were, for whatever reason, weakies. They're weakies. And it was so entrancing to watch them. I never for a moment believed or disbelieved what I was seeing. I always talk about verisimilitude and how keeping the reality that's established in this movie is phenomenal. And you really are just, I was compelled to watch.
And it's all done by the performances.
Oh
it's
my
the performances that make it work.
You know, and whether you love the movie or you don't love the movie, you can't deny that this movie takes you to a place where you believe every frame of this film. And I was like, I don't know if I loved it, but I really appreciated it. It's a masterclass in to be evocative of, I don't quite know what, but madness.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if both these guys get nominated. Won't be surprised at all. All right, Ryan Trabuco writes, enjoyed the Downton Abbey movie, but if you told me to get close to 100 million at the U.S. box office, I wouldn't have believed it. It's at 94 million now. Yeah, it's somewhere close. It didn't quite hit 200 million, but it's getting close to 200. It is crazy how much money this movie made. That was probably made for about 15 million bucks.
Yeah.
It is nuts. And you cannot underestimate how much people loved Downton Abbey. People loved it. And you know, it's not a bad little film. I'm not a Downtonite, but it's not a bad little film.
You know, you also have to remember that how great is it for the studios, for the business, when movies like Joker and movies like Downton Abbey find their audience. It shows studios that you don't have to be spending $200 million to have a profitable film.
Yep. Ryan Trabuco writes, by the way, just realized this past weekend that I've been watching you since the AMC days in 2012.
Wow.
It's always crazy to me when I hear people tell me they've been watching since, and some people have even been watching since my movie blog days, which is really going back a ways. But thank you for being along for the ride, Ryan. Ryan also writes, AMC Movie Talk covered Wreck-It Ralph opening, and I think it was immediately after that when you all talked about Disney buying Lucasfilm.
That's crazy, dude.
And of course, the announcement that they were going to come out with new. I still remember where I was. I still remember I was in the storage closet studio at AMC Burbank 16. Everybody else had left for the day, and I was the last one there. And I was doing something, and I saw that news break, and I immediately flipped on the cameras and got ready to go. I still remember that. What a great day that was. That was a great. There was so much enthusiasm and excitement at that time. It was truly a wonderful, wonderful day. All right, Ryan Trabuco then writes, so here's to another 7 years of awesome movie coverage, John. Obviously, you've been at it longer than 7 years. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, dude, and thank you so much for being along for the ride. And all of you guys who've been watching us just be movie fans together for this long. It's awfully great. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. Faye Haberfeld writes, Rob, what do you think of The Irishman? Well, I know you haven't seen it yet.
Dude, I haven't seen it yet because getting the tickets has proved to be, we live in LA. I think everybody in the city is going. I'm probably going to go to the Alamo Draft House this week or the Egyptian next weekend. Before I went on the show, I was trying to juggle where all the night shows are sold out. It's insane.
Luca A. writes, as someone who enjoys spoilers and leaks, it's frustrating to see people sending in super chats with the episode 9 leaks disguised as theories. Oh, I haven't seen anything and I haven't recognized anything, and so I'm not really worried about it. Luca A. writes, I hate when people post spoilers for others. Yeah, I mean, look, you're just, there's no way around it. You're just a Cretaceous asshole. I mean, you just are. If you get joy out of hurting somebody else's enjoyment of something, that just makes you a fucking loser.
You're a destroyer of joy.
Yeah,
and you should be ashamed.
you're just a loser. You're just a loser. Let's see. Luke A. also writes, how do these big movie leaks happen? Endgame's big battle leak, save for Tony's death. Oh, that got out too. And now episode 9's plot. How does this stuff happen exactly? Well, listen, we live in a world. And by the way, 90% or more of the leaks you hear about turn out to be bullshit and false. Some of them don't. That being said, we live in a world where not only do you literally have thousands of people working on a movie, but all of us today, don't underestimate this. Unlike 15, 20 years ago, all of us today walk around with high-end audio-visual global telecommunication devices in our pockets. Your phone is a high-end, high-quality audio, video, and data global communications device in your pocket instantaneously. The question is not, how does this happen? The question is, how does this not happen more often?
Yeah.
When you live in a world like this. I mean, it's the fact that some of these studios are able to keep a lid on anything. Like, I'm not going to, it's already been out in theaters forever, but I still won't say what it is. There is a performer's appearance in Hobbs and Shaw that I came out going, how the hell did we not know that person was in this movie?
Yeah.
How the hell?
Because two performers.
Yeah. And so the question really today, when you understand how many people are involved, combined with the fact that we all travel with these audiovisual global communication devices, the question becomes, how does it not happen more often? And that's really the bigger question.
But it's also true of like who most people don't care about spoilers for every movie. There's only like 1 or 2 or 3 movies that drive everybody nuts for spoilers, Star Wars and Marvel, you know. No one else is paying attention to other things. I mean, I did not necessarily want the Downton Abbey movie spoiled, but no one was clamoring to find out what the Dowager Countess was going to do in that film.
No. And of course, the big drama in that movie was how are they going to fix the hot water heater before the royals arrive? You think I'm kidding? I ain't kidding. Somehow Downton Abbey has a way of taking these completely mundane things of who gets to carry out and serve dinner to the dinner guests tonight. Dun, dun, dun. And that's the big drama of the movie. And yet they find a way to make it stupidly compelling. And I don't know why, but I got into it. Okay, listen here. We still got a whole bunch more to get through here. So let's move on to Give Luigi a Ring writes, hey, John, with Joker hitting 934 million, wow, and it going into its 5th week, over under 25%, it hits 1 billion. Would be awesome if it did. I loved it. It doesn't matter if it does or not. At this point, it really doesn't matter. This thing is already, like, hitting 1 billion or not, this has become a seminal moment, I believe, in movie history. I think this Joker movie is, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, is so important on so many different levels that it almost doesn't matter if it hits 1 billion. I still don't think it will, but I'll take over 25%. It's still got like 66 million to go to get there. It's rapidly running out of steam. It's going to be very, very close. So I'll still take, I still believe it won't get to 1 billion, but it doesn't matter. But I will take over 25%. I think it's got a better than 25% chance at this point. Rob, what do you think?
I think so too. I mean, I think that they'll leave it in theaters. Look, at this point, I want it to hit $1 billion. I told Adrian Iscari, our producer friend Adrian, I said, there's no way this movie's going to hit. Who would have thought? I was one of those people.
Nobody did. No, even Warner Brothers didn't think it would.
Now I want Joker to have $1 billion. I want an R-rated film it's a zeitgeist movie that talks about our healthcare system, talks about our mental health system, talks about Joker as a homicidal maniac. I want this movie to get to $1 billion on principle alone.
Let me ask you this, though. What principle, maybe, but do you think it adds anything to the overall legacy of Joker if it does or does not hit 1 billion? Like, what do you think?
I absolutely think it does. Not just Joker, but films in general, because to have this movie deals with very real issues, very real subjects. It's very much a movie of today. Aside from being a movie about the emergence of a Batman villain, it has really important things to say about American culture now, even though it's set in 1981. I mean, the fact that people are losing their health care. It talks about the insurance situation in a Joker movie. I mean, and you think about the mental health of people, the physical health of people, how we treat one another, the 1%, income inequality. There's so much going on in that movie that they've snuck into a movie about a supervillain from a comic book. I love the fact that this movie is caught on. I think this movie is an important film. I think people will be discussing this movie for years to come, even though it wouldn't exist without Scorsese's Taxi Driver or King of Comedy. I still think that the fact that this movie caught on is a huge deal, and there's lessons to be learned, and I'm really excited that we're here.
All right. Next up, we've got Slim Trav writes, favorite John Witherspoon performance? In my opinion, Friday. Speaking of Little Nicky, man, he's been in a lot of bad ones too. I don't know. Maybe if I thought about it and I had a list in front of me, I'd say something different. I'm just gonna go Little Nicky. I don't know. What do you think?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Intellectual Pizza writes, how did you come up with the hand twirl intro? Well, that was an old classic thing. That's no classic
I want to
thing.
know.
So and so at your service. I mean, that's
Okay,
like an
right,
old
right.
style
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So I just one day said, I am, of course, your host, so it's an old style thing.
You got to do it's your trademark now.
And now it's kind of become a trademark as much as bye-bye and greetings and salutations. Let's see. Semsex writes, the animation for Spider-Verse takes longer to do. I mean, I'm not an animator, so I don't know.
I'm sure it does. Absolutely.
But it and I didn't even like the animation style when I first saw the trailers. It grew on me in the movie, but when I first saw the trailer, I didn't like it. Didn't like it.
It's
so many things I didn't like about Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse before I saw the movie, and then it became one of my favorites. Timbula the Spider Monkey writes, have you heard of history buffs? They review movies based on historical events and go through all the things they get right and wrong. Worth a look. Never heard of it.
No, that sounds cool. I love stuff like that.
Sounds interesting, though. Sounds really
Do
interesting.
they do one for Star Wars? Because it happened a long time ago.
A long, long time ago. The galaxy far, far away. Jonathan Teft writes, Spider-Verse 2 has the benefit of being animated, so no need to worry about the actors getting too old for their roles. Incredibles waited 14 years.
There you go.
That's true. That's a great example of one, and it again made the $1 billion thing.
Yep.
What the hell took them so long to do Incredibles 2? I love that movie, by the way. That movie, I still think I probably prefer the first Incredibles a little bit, but second Incredibles is so good. Tom Gillard writes, long have I waited, and now you're coming together. Sums up my feelings for John and Christian's Star Wars show. Well, thank you so much, man. And hey, listen, great segue.
Does that launch tomorrow?
That launches tomorrow. Christian Harloff and I, our new show, which is mostly Star Wars stuff. We're going to throw in a few other things here and there too, but it is primarily a Star Wars show called Dark Side, Light Side. That goes live tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we hope that you guys will come and join Christian and I for that.
I just think it's really kind of a shame that you're launching the show and there's really nothing Star Wars to talk about.
We're in the middle of a Star Wars desert right now,
Yeah,
right?
man.
If only there was like another movie or a new TV series or something coming.
It would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it be fortuitous? Tom Gillard writes, both James Cameron produced movies in 2019 had sucky first trailers that ended up being movies I really enjoyed, and Dark Fate and Alita. And you're right. Listen, that first trailer, I think Alita could have been not $1 billion film, but a hit if they had not put out such an off-putting, terrible first trailer that turned a lot of people off. It is difficult, Rob, to get people back on board with the movie when they've jumped off the wagon early. And I thought Alita was a nice little movie. I had a good time with Alita Battle Angel.
I did too, man. I bought the premium box set for home video, the 4K box. I loved it.
But that first trailer did it no favors.
No
favors. All right. Next up, Ryan Lohner writes, who had the better 1974? Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein, or Ford Coppola, Godfather 2 and The Conversation? Just based on The Godfather 2, which is probably a top 5 best film of all time. I mean, that just swap the decks.
But in terms of classics, I mean, I know they're not comparable directly, but Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. Oh, so good. But that's actually a pretty great comparison. I'd say both guys. You know who wins? We do. The audience.
Guys, if you haven't seen Blazing Saddles, look,
or Young Frankenstein.
Even some of the great comedies throughout time, comedy is something that unfortunately often doesn't age well, right? I mean, because especially when there's things that are funny to the era and stuff, like comedy is not made in a vacuum. It's done in a contextual, in a societal context. I get it. Blazing Saddles stands up. Airplane stands up. There are some comedies that really do. The Woody Allen film that won Best Picture, Annie Hall, stands up. There are some great ones, but those are a couple of the ones you got to check out. Okay, we got time for just a couple more with Rob still here. Let's see, where are we at here? Benny95 writes, "This is how much my girlfriend knows Star Wars. I have Star Wars boxers and pointed to Han Solo, and she asks, who's that again? Luke Skywalker's son? Facepalm. Benny, there is a website called eHarmony. I encourage you to hop on eHarmony and find yourself a new partner. Just gotta say.
Wait a minute. If I could speak in her defense, if he's in his boxers and he's pointing to something that's on his boxers, maybe she's looking at something else and really doesn't care who that person on your boxers is. Think of it that way.
That's putting a positive spin on it.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're in your boxers and you're pointing to things that are on your boxers, you're not doing it right. Just saying.
But all other things being equal, try eHarmony. All right. Next up, where are we at here? The Castle Show writes, Disney Plus is almost here. I'm so excited. I was wondering, what time will it be live? I actually do not know.
I don't either. I'm wondering, is it going to go live like at 12:01? You know, I've stayed up. I'm staying up. If it goes at 12:01, I'm hitting that button and watching The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait.
But I need to know if I should stay up or not, because I don't want to be up. And because I got to get up at 5 in the morning.
I mean,
right?
Is it going to go live?
I don't want to be up at like 1:30 and it's still not live. Like, just let us know when it's going to launch, because I want to watch Mandalorian.
Because what if it launches East Coast time? Or is it going to launch 3 in the morning? If it I mean, who knows? How come we don't know this?
I don't know. I'm sure. Look, I'm sure we'll find out as we get closer.
It's close, dude.
But I know it's close, but it's not in the next 24 hours.
No.
Right. So I'm sure we'll find out shortly.
Like it's a week from tomorrow.
Yeah. Ooh. I just got chills when you said that. John Campea's Imagination writes, which Oscar snub was worse between Toni Collette for Hereditary, Won't You Be My Neighbor for Best Documentary, or Topher Grace for Black Klansman? I'm going to throw out Topher Grace for Black Klansman, although I did very much like him in that. But I didn't go, that has to get an Oscar nomination.
Right.
The Toni Collette for Hereditary and Won't You Be My Neighbor for Documentary, the reason these stand out, and I believe you shouldn't call somebody not getting a nomination a snub unless you can honestly say, I think there's a legitimate chance that person could win this category, let alone just get a token nomination.
Right.
That's why I call Lego Movie not getting a nomination for Best Animated Movie a snub, because I thought it legitimately had a chance to win that damn category. Toni Collette was my odds-on favorite to win Best Actress, and she didn't get nominated. I was stunned. Won't You Be My Neighbor is one of the best documentaries I've seen in years. It's not a movie that just changes the way you see the world. It's a movie that changes you. You watch that movie and it changes you. And it didn't get nominated. The Oscars were so surprised that it did. Even the Oscars themselves are so surprised, because in their television advertising for the Academy Awards, they were putting in clips of Won't You Be My Neighbor, because we just all knew, of course, it's going to get nominated because it's probably going to win. Not to take anything away from the climbing documentary. I forget the name of it. But
Free Solo.
Free Solo, which is great. But how it didn't get I'm going to go Won't You Be My Neighbor not getting a nomination for Best Documentary. Because while I thought both of them could have won, I thought that one would win. Toni Collette, I thought there's my heads-on favorite to win, but I couldn't say, I really thought Won't You Be My Neighbor was going to win. Rob, which do you think was the bigger snub?
You know, I would say Hereditary, only because, like, that scene at the dinner table when she's confronting her son, I mean, I think that film was snubbed because of its subject matter. I think people wouldn't have gotten halfway. There's something that happens in that movie that people are like, I'm out. And I think
But I don't think it's going to stop anybody from nominating Dafoe or Pattinson this year. And you could make an argument for that too, right?
Well, you know what though? Because I'll tell you, for its, I think The Lighthouse is a singular experience, and I think it deals with it can be unpleasant and crazy, but I think it's easier, it's more palatable than Hereditary for a lot of people, and they can recognize what's going on from the beginning. And I think there's going to be people that watch The Lighthouse for those performances. I think if you watched Hereditary to watch Toni Collette, there's people that just would be put off by the subject matter.
I mean, that's true too. Look, honestly,
because that movie does something that's pretty unforgivable, which I loved.
I think 95% of the time the Oscars completely get it right. Not that, by the way, getting it right doesn't mean they give the award to how I would have thought should have got the award. That's not, but I think generally speaking, 95, 96, 97% of the time, I think the Oscars get it right. But there are those times. Lego Movie not getting nominated for Best Animated. Toni Collette not getting nominated for Best Actress. There are things like that there are those examples. They do stand out. But anyway, last question for Rob here, and then Rob's going to have to go.
Oh, no.
All right. Jason Espinoza writes, sorry, did I miss one? Yes, I did miss one. Okay, here we go. James Gold writes, I've been reading his Dark Materials and am so hyped for tonight. So much talent involving and such a great story. To the crew who will be watching. You know what's funny? In as much as initial excitement amongst the audiences that we heard when this show was announced, and as much as everybody was buzzing about it, this show has snuck up on us. Because I'm actually not hearing a lot of people talking about it today. Have you noticed that too, Rob? Or am I just been under a rock here?
Philip Pullman's books, I love those books. I love that trilogy. I read there's a second trilogy, I think, but I love those books. And The Golden Compass, which is the first adaptation of that stuff, was okay. But this show looks amazing. I mean, it looks incredible. And in terms of, to me, we've talked about Dark Crystal Age of Resistance and Carnival Row, but to me, this is like the trifecta. This is I can't wait to see this show. I'm really excited. But yeah, now, did it debut last night on HBO?
I can't remember.
I didn't watch because I was going to watch Watchmen today. I didn't see episode 3 of Watchmen, but yeah, I can't wait. Or it drops tonight. I'm very excited for the show. I think people are going to talk about it because if you don't know the books, this show is going to blow people away because the story is so interesting. I can't wait.
There's so much television that I got to watch right now because I haven't started on Watchmen yet. Materials.
Jack Ryan, I really liked.
I still got to start on Jack Ryan season 2. And I got my free because I had bought an iPad. I didn't even realize because I just got an email saying, oh, you bought an iPad recently. You get free Apple TV Plus free for a year. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So, and I'm hearing great things about Morning Show. I think the new Jason Momoa show, looks absolutely idiotic.
Yeah, although people have said it's good.
I'm hearing decent things about it.
Me too.
So there's a couple shows on there that I gotta check out. I got my season finale of Mayans is coming up here that I gotta watch. God, I'm really digging that show, Mayans. It's a lot of good TV. Anyway, that will do it for Robert Meyer Burnett here today. Rob, thank you for being here again, and we'll see you again tomorrow. But in the meantime, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or my own YouTube channel and show, Robservations, on the Burnett Work on YouTube. And yes, that's where you can always find me.
Rob, it's always an awesome privilege to have you here, sir, and I will look forward to having you back in again tomorrow.
Adios.
All right, guys, we still got about 20 minutes left here, so we're going to keep right on rolling here with your live questions. So let's jump over to it. The next one up comes to us from Jason Espinoza, who writes, do you think Ant-Man had a negative effect on Michael Peña's career? Absolutely not. It gave great exposure, but seems since he's been cast in mostly lesser comic roles, I think you're looking for cause and effect there, and I simply don't believe there's any cause and effect. Because look at the Tom Cruise situation in Tropic Thunder, right? That didn't hurt Tom Cruise's career. People loved Michael Peña in Ant-Man. I loved him in Ant-Man. I don't think what did transpire or didn't transpire since then for him has done anything, honestly. I think if Ant-Man wasn't there, I don't think we would have seen Michael Pena be in a completely different place in his career right now. So I don't think there's a cause and effect situation there. Cameron W. writes, Amazon Fire TV Stick will not support Disney Plus. Really? I confirmed with Amazon. This requires I buy new hardware. Literally every other platform supports it. Well, the reality is that every one of the major smart devices when it comes to these things are Roku, the Apple TV, and the Amazon Fire Stick, box, whatever you want to get. They have several different models. I've found that none of them support everything. They all support most stuff, but none of them supports everything. The one to me that has worked the best, and the why I have stuck with it now over the years, I've had an Amazon device, I've had Apple TV. To me, continuously, the one that always supports the most stuff is Roku. Roku is just the thing that seems to support almost everything. Again, not everything, but almost everything. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Amazon and Disney can work out a deal to get that on there. That is unfortunate. But my recommendation, Cameron, is Roku. You won't go wrong with Roku at all. I love the Rokus. Even the latest TV I bought for the bedroom. Ann and I bought a new TV for our bedroom a few months ago. And we got one with Roku actually built right into it. I've got old Roku devices all over the place because I keep buying the new models, but I think you'll be happy with Roku. All right. Pasadena Peace writes, face it, the DCU is dead. Nobody's going to go see Justice League 2. Okay, Pasadena, here's the thing. You do realize that Aquaman just made $1 billion at the box office, right? I'm just going to sit here for a second and let that soak in to your statement. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That is utterly ridiculous. Now, I'm not saying that the DCU has a bright and glorious future. I'm not saying that. But hot on the heels of one of their big marquee titles making $1 billion at the box office, something I never thought it would do. I knew it would be successful. I didn't think it would be that successful. To then follow that up. Now, if you were to say Face of the DCU is dead before Aquaman came out, I would say you can make a good argument for that. I mean, I don't know that I agree, but you can make an argument for that. To say that on the heels of it having $1 billion film, the biggest one they've ever had, I'd say at best is premature. All right. J Meister 25 writes, saw Rob's name in the end credits for the behind the scenes of Fellowship of the Ring. That's right. He worked on a bunch of the features of that. My heart soared when I saw it. Also super excited for Ant-Man 3. Dude, me too. You know what? I've known Rob for years. And I've known about the Lord of the Rings stuff for a long time, but I am still to this day surprised to find out the different things he's been involved in. Like, we'll be driving in a car somewhere. He says, yeah, I mean, this one time I was working on whatever. I'm like, wait a minute, what? How come I've never heard that you worked on X or whatever it was? It's always funny. And yeah, I'm excited for Ant-Man 3 as well. All right, Jarrett Oberfell writes, go Ravens. Ravens broke the New England Patriots 13-game winning streak, which included a Super Bowl win. But you know what? I can't complain. The Patriots lost last night, but I can't complain. Because I said from the beginning of the season, this is not New England's year. They have no weapons left except Edelman. That's it. They've got Edelman. That's it. Brady literally has nobody else to throw the ball to on any consistent basis. And I thought at this point in the season, I thought they would be 5-4. I thought they would be 5-4. So as a New England Patriot fan, I will totally take 8-1. I will completely take 8-1 with a big smile on my face. But, you know, they had won 13 games in a row. They were going to lose eventually. And I'm just grateful they didn't lose to like a terrible team. They lost to a really, really good team. It was a weird game, but hey, Ravens are looking good, and congrats to the Ravens. All right, Jared Oberfeld writes, Part 1, not a good year for Paramount. Absolutely not. Heard from IMDb, Terminator had a $185 million budget. I've heard anywhere between 170 and 190, but basically the refrain has been 185. Yeah, not good. More expensive than Gemini Man. Crazy. And how they ever thought that, yeah, we can make this movie for $185 million. We'll make that money back. How did you ever think that? Like even I, an idiot of epic proportions, was able to say, guys, this Terminator film might be great. At the time, I hadn't seen it yet. It might be great, but it's not going to do well. No matter how good it is, it's not going to do well. Not with the Terminator franchise being where it's at. It was perplexing. It was perplexing. Connor Race writes, saw Terminator in 4DX. Holy crap. Awesome. Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't think it was awesome. I had a number of issues with it, and I'm not going to tell you what they are because they would give away spoilers. But Rob and I were talking before the show started today about a number of the problems that I had with Terminator, the new one. Overall, I enjoyed it though. If you saw my initial reaction coming out of the theater, I came out like, you know what? That was pretty good. Not great, and it has its problems, but I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. Rob felt the same way. But man, that's why all film is subjective. If you liked it that much, Connor, awesome. I'm glad you had such a good time, man. Murray Reich writes, for the most part, Terminator Dark Fate was an enjoyable action movie, more than the other sequels. Linda / Arnie / Mackenzie were great, but there's an aspect in the movie plot that threw me off, and I'll leave it at that. And I think that certain aspect, I will not spoil, may be one of the reasons why this movie will flop at the box office, not the main reason. Well, here's the thing though, Murray. Nobody knows about that aspect unless they go to see it, and nobody's going to see it. So I don't know, because I think I know the part you're talking about. I think I know the element you're talking about. That's not stopping people from going to see it because they have to go to see it to know that that's there. You know what I mean? I think the combination of everybody was already, I think Terminator Genesis put the stake in the heart of the Terminator franchise. I didn't think as definitively as I do now, but seeing the final result here of this opening weekend, you can't get away from looking back at Terminator Genesis, because we knew that Terminator Genesis and everything that came before it after Terminator 2 has hurt this franchise. Terminator Genesis, or as John Schnepp used to call it, Terminator Genesis, it really buried it. I just didn't realize how much it buried it. Then you combine that with a really unimpressive first trailer, and I think people underestimate how much damage can be done to a film with a bad first trailer. I'm going hunting. Terrible. Again, not a main reason that it didn't do well, but a contributing factor. It is what it is, dude. It is what it is. And it's too bad because I don't think it's a bad movie. Most people seem to be enjoying it. But I mean, I guess the bottom line is just something they shouldn't have even bothered making. They certainly shouldn't have spent $185 million on it. I mean, that goes without saying. All right. Fabian Vegas, just got a few minutes left here, guys. Fabian Vegas writes, rewatching some of the better episodes of Clone Wars. It's so good. Did you ever see it? And what are your thoughts on it? Stay filthy, Jenny Vonnie. Well, listen. Amongst my Star Wars loving brethren, and I am a die-cast Star Wars maniac, it kind of defined my life. Most people I know who are Star Wars fans really enjoyed the Clone Wars series. I did not. I've never liked the Clone Wars series. And again, I acknowledge I know other people who don't like it as well, but I am in the minority. And I acknowledge that, but I'm very comfortable being in the minority. I'm in the majority most of the time, but when I'm in the minority, I'm perfectly comfortable being there. I don't feel the need to say I like something that I don't just to be cool. But I don't like Clone Wars. And I know a lot of people that maybe go, what? I know, I get it. It's kind of like when I say I didn't like the original Blade Runner. What? I know. I get it. But it never really worked for me. There was just something very off-putting about the whole show to me. That just never worked. And it started with that absolutely abysmal crime against humanity Clone Wars movie. Sky Guy! I hated that movie. Oh my God. And I was there at the premiere for that movie. I was at the world premiere of the Clone Wars animated movie. I was there with George Lucas, the whole bit, blah, blah, blah. And I remember I was so turned off by that show or turned off by that movie. That I overreacted. What? A film fan that overreacts to things? Yeah, I overreacted, but I came out, I was so turned off by that movie that I came out and did a little video saying, this date is the day my love of Star Wars died. Not my love of the Star Wars stuff that has come prior to this, but my love of Star Wars died today. It was a massive overreaction on my part. But that's how much I hated it. And the Clone Wars series never did anything to win that back for me. But again, listen, if you're somebody who has not seen Clone Wars, and because obviously, you know, Kathleen Kennedy's announced they're bringing Clone Wars back. They're going to do a new season of Clone Wars. And you've been on the fence about checking out Clone Wars, don't let my dislike of the series dissuade you, because again, I am in the minority. Most of the people who watch Clone Wars enjoy it. So keep that in mind. So if you've been on the fence about going back and maybe watching Clone Wars, maybe you never have before, I'd say go and watch it, because most people seem to enjoy it. So I think the odds are you will enjoy it, since most people do. I'm just in the minority on that one. That's just me. All right. Let's see. Thanks for sending that in, Fabian. Okay. Hey Goo Gal writes, what's your favorite Schultz peanut special? The Great Pumpkin Patch. The Pumpkin Patch is great. I love the Halloween one. It's got to be the Christmas one. I like the Christmas one. You know, and I got to admit, listen, Christmas is my favorite day of the year. More than my birthday, more than the Oscars. Christmas is my favorite day. I love Christmas for 1,000 different reasons. But I love Christmas so much. And I've watched that Peanuts holiday special almost every Christmas. So I'm going to go with that one. All right. Jordan Harris writes, have you seen Tango and Cash? Of course, we've talked Tango and Cash many times. Thoughts? It's one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasures. I can't get my wife, Marissa, to watch it because she says it looks like a terrible movie. I need your help. Well, listen, Jordan, let's be fair to Marissa. It does look terrible. I mean, let's be honest. If you were to go onto YouTube and pull up the old trailer for Tango and Cash, it looks terrible. I mean, so cut her some slack on that, because she's not wrong. It does look terrible. Tango and Cash, though, despite how it looks, is kind of one of those era-specific genre tentpole films that it kind of defined that era of the buddy cop action film, right? It's a movie that we see Stallone. It's almost like a reversal role, because you don't expect to see Stallone playing that. You expect him to play the other guy. You don't expect him to play that guy. So especially from a modern context, it becomes a little bit weird to look back on that. What I would say to Marissa, Jordan, is this. Lean into her perception and come right out and acknowledge, you're right, honey. It looks terrible. Absolutely it does. I mean, look at this. Look how cheesy that looks. It absolutely is. But I'm telling you, because we agree on how bad it looks, but I'm telling you, the movie delivers a presentation that kind of defined an era of filmmaking and a genre of film that was really big at the time. And this was kind of the poster child for that sort of movie. And so I would lean into her and say, you're right. Lean into what she's saying. You're absolutely right. It does look terrible, because it does. So embrace that, and take from a historical point of view. It's like this is a movie that this movie defines what that generation and what that era of filmmaking was like for this genre. And maybe you might be surprised. Here's the other thing, Jordan. As incentive, this is just good negotiating. And it's also good partnership. Tell you what, let's do a double feature next Friday at home. We watch Tango and Cash and any movie you want to watch. Even if it's a Twilight movie, even if it's Downton Abbey. I happen to like Downton Abbey, but you know what I'm saying? So make it fair. Say, honey, here's what we do. Next Friday night, we got no plans for next Friday. We're going to order some food. We're going to have some wine. We're going to get into our PJs. We're going to stretch out on the couch. We're going to watch a double feature. We're going to watch Tango and Cash and any movie of your choosing. So make it fair, and I think you might be able to get her on board with that, Jordan. All right, good luck, my friend. All right, King T'Challa writes, watch The Nightingale, brutal movie, but brilliant. Which one is that? Because I'm thinking of a movie that I believe it is what we're talking about, but I could be, I could be totally wrong about that. Yeah, there are a couple. There's a 2014 Nightingale with David Oyelowo, which I remember. There's Nightingales from 1990 with Robert Lindsay. There's also a 1989 movie, Nightingales. Now, there's a 2018 one that was directed by Jennifer Kent with Sam Claflin in it. So I don't know if that's one you're talking about. Now, if you're saying it was brutal, then it could be this 2018 one. But again, I'm just not sure which one we're talking about. But thank you for the recommendation, King. Ben Elman writes, my movie experience yesterday. Showtime listed 4:15. Commercial start at 4:15. Trailer start 4:24. Movie starts at 4:40. It's unexceptional. Exceptionable. Probably meant either unacceptable or unexcusable. Unexceptionable. It's unexceptionable. Dude, it's just no. You say the movie starts at 4:15. Why am I still here? I've been sitting in this theater for 24 minutes. How come the movie still hasn't started? Because you're showing me commercials. Funny, I could have swore I paid for my seat. I could have swore that, yeah, it's a foggy memory, but I could have swore I remember walking up to a ticket counter and paying money in exchange for a seat in this movie. I could have swore I paid to be here. Why again are you showing me 25 minutes of ads when I paid to be here? Tell me again. Tell me again how this is justifiable. It's unacceptable, and we should probably all be making a bigger deal out of it than we do. Colby Harris writes, just watch Father of the Bride 1 and 2 for the first time. Dude, those are fun. I like the Father of the Brides movies. Not the best Steve Martin movies, and Martin Short's great in those too. I love Father of the Bride. That's great. All right, final question today comes to us from Murray Reich, who writes, where are we at here? Murray Reich writes, did you see that post-game interview of Jimmy Garoppolo and Aaron Andrews' first minute and a half mark? You'll see it. I have not seen the Jimmy Garoppolo. He's, of course, the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. He was the backup quarterback for Tom Brady on the New England Patriots for a while. He's fantastic. But no, I have not seen that. I'll have to go and see what that's all about. All right, listen, everybody from Jesse and everybody else all the way on down who sent in Super Chat questions, do not worry. Your question is going to get answered in a video. I'm going to do a companion video today because I still have to follow up on some questions from the people who did send in questions for the Weekly Hero this week, but we had to cancel the Weekly Hero. So I have to get around those too. So I'm going to do a companion video today that gets around to all those. I'm just going to see. I think I saw somebody sent in a ridiculously stupid large super chat. Yes, I want to make sure that this gets answered before we cut away here. Another Skywalker sends in a really large super chat. Thank you, Another Skywalker, for supporting the channel on that level, dude. Really, really appreciate it. That's really generous. Anyway, Another Skywalker writes, really disappointed in Terminator box office. I really liked it. I really liked it. And you know, it's funny because you're not alone, Another Skywalker. You know, somebody else wrote in a little bit earlier today and said that they even liked it more than the first Terminator. There are people who love this. And look, I know I brought this up earlier. Let me see if I can bring it up again here. Terminator, Dark Fate, Rotten Tomatoes. I just want to bring this up quick because it's worth noting. I mean, look at these aren't bad numbers. Look at this. These ain't bad numbers. 70% critic rating. That means 7 out of every 10 critics like this movie. 85% audience score. Remember, these are verified ratings. That means everybody out of the 5,000 people who registered a rating, Rotten Tomatoes verified that each one of those people actually saw the movie, and they're not just trolling it. They actually saw the movie. 85% of the people liked it. So, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it too. I admit I did not love it per se, but I enjoyed it. And it's really crazy to see how many people, and so I'm sure you're not alone, and you're right, it is disappointing. But while it is disappointing, it's also unfortunately not surprising. It's not surprising. And I think to a degree, the people at Paramount and Skydance and all that kind of stuff, I think they had to know that because of the huge hole they dug themselves in with the past 20 years of bad Terminator films, I think they knew that, hey, Terminator Dark Fate's not going to be a big hit. What we want to do, though, is like maybe break even and give everybody a good movie so that we can start rebuilding this franchise and people will gain faith in it again. But I don't think they expect... So I'm sure they didn't have unrealistic expectations, but they had to be hoping it would be better than this. I knew this movie was not going to do well financially, no matter how good it was. But this is even below what I thought it would be. I thought 45, 50. But I think what this tells us, and I could be wrong, but I think what this tells us is that Terminator Genisys was far more damaging than what a lot of us thought it was. We all knew it was damaging to the franchise. We all knew that. But I don't know. I think maybe a lot of us underestimated. I'll include myself in this, especially myself. I think a lot of us underestimated just how damaging that Terminator Genisys movie was. And I think we're seeing that. And I think a big part, not the only thing, but I think a big part of the box office result we're seeing here is a referendum by the film fandom about we gave you guys tons of chances with Terminator. And ever since, when did Terminator 2 come out? 1991? Ever since 1991, for decades now, you have consistently let us down. We've given you enough chances, enough's enough. And you're right, it is a shame because they've put out a pretty decent little movie. This is a pretty decent film. It's not great, but it's pretty decent. Best Terminator movie we've had since Terminator 2. Deserved better than this. But you know what? It's the hole they dug themselves into, brother. It's the hole they dug themselves into, unfortunately. Anyway, thank you for sending that in, Another Skywalker. And again, thank you for supporting the channel on that level, dude. We really appreciate it around here. And guys, once again, for everybody else who had questions in there, do not worry. Your questions are getting answered in a video today. I'm going to be doing a companion video here a little bit later this afternoon, so keep your eyes open for that, and all your questions are getting answered. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of today's show. I want to thank, of course, Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. It's going to be me and Robert today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and then Chris Carr and Aaron Cummings on Thursday, and then Robert and Aaron Cummings on Friday. So that's this week's schedule at any rate. So thank you to Robert for being here. Thank you to all of you guys who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way. And remember, guys, if you want your question or topic to be one of the main topics on the show, once again, just go on over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Just fill out the form and hit submit. That's all you got to do. We can't guarantee that it'll get on the show, but maybe, just maybe, you'll see your topic or question featured here as one of our main topics on the John Campea Show. Once again, guys, another little plug. Tomorrow, me and Christian Harloff and our new show, Dark Side, Light Side, that goes tomorrow at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I hope you guys plan on coming and joining us there for that to see if, whether we suck or not now together. We thought we remembered us being pretty good together, but who knows? Maybe we just absolutely sucked, and we'll have to do the show together just to find out just how bad we were. But come on back and join us for that. And then, of course, on Wednesday, me and Robert Meyer Burnett have the new installment, now that we've got our technical issues worked out with Wirecast, of the Weekly Hero. Big, busy week ahead of us, guys. Hopefully you'll be a part of us along the way. And of course, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. That will do it for us for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.